welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. This episode's going to be a little different. Looks like I'm kind of riding solo. Ryan went and left me for a week. Had to go on vacation with his family. How dare he be like a good father and like take time with his wife and kids. The nerve. Anyway, this episode's going to be a little different. Instead of just our normal catching up on news and stuff, I just wanted to share kind of something a little bit more near and dear to my heart and just be a little bit more positive out there with all the negativity and stuff going on. So today I have a special co-host, my wonderful and amazing wife. And yes, I'm trying to earn brownie points by saying that. But Julie, you want to introduce yourself real quick?
Hi, this is Julie. And John invited me on here. Kind of a last little surprise. So happy to be here. And we'll be talking together. You'll get to know me more through the interview.
Yeah. So, I have a better looking co-host this time around than, Ryan. He'll probably beat me up later for that, but that's okay. Just wanted to kind of just share a little bit about us and some of Julie's thoughts and just kind of experiences that we've had being an interracial couple, especially with everything going on with the news and the politics and the Black Lives Matters movement and all the rioting and just things that we want for our family, things that we've enjoyed, the love that we've been shown from our family and friends during this whole process, and just kind of give you better insight to us, and hopefully you can learn something from that and maybe take it to your family or just relate to it in your own way if you're dealing with things that we've dealt with. And so I guess I'll get us started. Julie and I have been married going on 7 years now.
Yep, just barely. Celebrated the 7-year anniversary at the beginning of June.
Can't believe she's put up with me for that long, but, bless her little heart. Appreciate that. I guess tell the audience a little bit about yourself, Julie.
Golly, well, John and I got married when I was 39, so I waited around for a good long time for him to show up, and we met out in the Virginia, D.C. area, and we're good friends for a good long time, and then I moved back to Utah, and we ended up dating long distance.
She attacked me. I was defenseless and,
really, we're not
innocent.
Going to put that on the podcast. Take that one out. Anyway, we got together and dated long distance. So then after getting married, we were lucky to have our little daughter, Eliza, right away. And so she is already 6 years old and smart and sassy. And so, yeah.
Short and sweet. The end. Just kidding. No, there's more to our story than that. It's an ongoing saga. Some questions I had just kind of for you, Julie, is, we kind of went over this before we started recording, but what were some of your initial thoughts of, me being African American, or maybe what was your previous experience with? Did you ever date an African American before me, or?
I only went on one date with one African American long before meeting John, and he was very friendly and very kind. In fact, he happened to know my older brother from a previous church mission. But anyway, that was my only previous dating experience as far as dating an African American person. When John and I started dating, I actually wasn't so worried about it for myself. My first thoughts were really making sure that my parents and grandparents were okay with it. That's really what stood out in my mind. Most of all. So,
right?
Yeah.
The fear of what are mom and dad going to think, and what are their mom and dad going to think?
Yeah. Unfortunately, generationally, with my grandparents, my grandpa was very concerned when I did mention I was dating John. And I think it's definitely because of his background and his age. But he has since passed away, and when I did introduce the fact or the idea to my parents, they were great. My dad was 100% on board. My mom gave me the answer of, it will take a little bit of getting used to, but I'm willing to do it for you if this is the right thing. which I was like, okay, good. I'm glad. And of course, John, if anybody knows John, you know that he's a big teddy bear. So
No, I'm not. Grr.
the cool part is that when John met my mom, he walked in and he gave her this big bear hug, and so she was sold immediately from that point. She was like, yeah, he feels like he belongs. And so that was a good experience for us. That really was where my main concern was, with making sure that my family was okay. And once they met John, then there really wasn't any concerns or issues, I felt like.
Yeah. Mom and Dad's love me. What can I say? For me, I wasn't really too concerned, because usually 9 times out of 10, a girl that I bring home to me and my parents, they were Caucasian. I like white girls. What can I say? But I like all girls. Like, I don't discriminate. But I figure, and one thing my mom and I think my dad always told me too is, as long as they treat me right and, they're very kind and who they are is what's important to them. As long as John is happy, that's the most important thing. And Julie has always been very kind to me. Like, even when we first met, which, don't ask me when that was, because I couldn't tell you the exact time frame. We both have a different idea in our heads. But yeah. It's here now. We've worked through it. So, what are the challenges, if any, have you noticed since being in an interracial relationship?
I think, well, so to kind of give some background, when we did get married, we were living in Bountiful, Utah, which I said to John on the phone, I'm sorry you're moving to Vanilla Town.
Yeah, I stuck out like a sore thumb.
That was one thing I was very concerned about, and the church that we go to was a lot of the older generation, and so I was a little nervous about how we would be treated. But I have to say kudos to those people in that neighborhood, because we were welcomed warmly with open arms, and we didn't have any problems, and so I was very relieved, actually.
Yeah, me too. I mean, it's been nice. Sometimes I'll run into someone from our old ward and they're like, hey, how's it going? It's like, yay.
Right? So, yeah, if there's anybody listening to this possibly outside of Utah, the demographic in Utah is definitely very Caucasian and white, and over the last 20 years or so, a couple of areas in Utah have grown more diverse, more like Salt Lake area and that kind of thing, and more up towards Ogden. But we have moved into a neighborhood that's more racially diverse than what Bountiful was. But again, I have been really grateful. I'm pleasantly surprised. We've had some very good experiences, and people have been very warm and welcoming with open arms, I think.
I had this thought, just kind of, one of the things that I had mentioned earlier at the introduction of just kind of things that we want for like our daughter, especially with her being mixed. It's like, when do you start to teach her about race and things like that? And what's the image that you want to portray for her? I had a coworker, and she had an incident where her daughter, the babysitter was watching her 2 little boys, and her little boys are minorities, and they had, unfortunately, an incident where a Caucasian male drove by in a car and called them out their name, called them that word you shouldn't say to someone of a different color, no matter who you are. Like, that's not okay. And to say that to little kids. So the babysitter scooped the kids up, took them in the house, and then called the mom. And of course, the mom comes home freaking out and this and that. Who is it? And the babysitter's like, I didn't get a license plate. I didn't get a car description or anything. I was just more freaking out. And it's kind of one of those things. I was talking to a buddy of mine around the corner, and just he kind of helped me put it in a different perspective, because I was like, if that was me, like, my initial thought would be like, oh, okay, you want to come and say something to my kid? Come say it to my face. But he kind of helped me put it in a different perspective, because he was like, John, you're not confrontational. And I was like, I'm not really like Julie said. I am a big teddy bear. Like
Sure.
I don't like people to be unhappy. And he's like, what's the image that you want your daughter to see? Is that it's okay to be violent when something like that happens? Because he's like, you're not that word. He's like, you're John. And I was like, yeah. And it kind of just resonated with something in my head that my dad had said to me. He's like, you're more than just the color of your skin. Like, the character and who you are should say a lot more to people when they're around you than just saying, oh, he's an African American male. He's going to be this stereotype. And believe you me, if you met me, I don't really fit into stereotypes.
No, not at all.
I mean, heck, I can't even eat watermelon. I mean, just take my black card there. But I love me some chicken and some soul food. Like, you got that going on, let's throw it down, let's go. But it's one of those things, and I don't know if you've ever thought about that.
Oh, for sure. So a lot of time when people have asked me questions on the side and you're not there, and they have asked me my experience being married to John and how that has worked out for me. And quite frankly, I think I got the best of the best. Like, as John said, he doesn't really throw the race card in anybody's face or make it a big deal. He makes it about who you are as a person, and that's one thing that people love about John is immediately you're very welcomed in with open arms, and he always tries to find the best in people, and I think he's very skilled at that, and it puts people at ease. And so I'm just really grateful for that, and because of that I feel like I've kind of been protected from a lot of the race issue because John doesn't make it about the race. He makes it about who you are, and I've been really grateful for that.
Well, I mean, it's just kind of, I've been there, done that, where I've been judged based off the color of my skin. Like, people make fun of me because when I'm at work, and I've said this in other episodes that we've had on here of like, my normal voice I'm using right now, it changes when I'm at work. When I go to that salesman voice of, hi, how can I help you? Because I don't want to be intimidating. Like, I'm already a big guy as it is. Like, I want you to have your defenses down. I want you to be at ease.
Yeah, a big guy with a baby face.
I mean, you can't see it with the mask on.
John does not have a mean look or a mean bone in his body. So
I do. I just hide it well. That's why I play violent video games. That's where my aggression side comes out. But, I mean, with anything, we all have our point that we get to where that does come out. But I try not to let that side out because what good does it do for me to sit here and be all upset? If I get upset at work, then it throws my whole mood off and I don't have a great day. But if I can block out all that negativity that's going on around me, then I'm in a better mood. I feel like I can, pass that on to other people that come along. They can feel that and they're like, oh, okay, that's great.
Yeah, I think you give people a good experience, if we want to say, to represent your race.
Right.
Which we don't really want to say it that way, but as a representative, you do a great job. And you put people at ease, and you make them feel comfortable, and make them feel like, oh, this is okay, and he's normal, and wants to get along with us.
Yeah, I mean, especially with everything going on, and I feel like every time I turn on the news or social media, it's some other racist incident, or, this is based off of the color of my skin, it's because I'm black, it's because I'm Hispanic, it's because I'm Asian, it's different cultural backgrounds, and I'm like, can't we just love each other, like, be more Christ-like, not even trying to be religious, to just be like, love thy neighbor. Like, if we all, like, my daughter is like the prime example. And I'm not trying to have this podcast just talking about, my family and myself, but I just want you to get that feel for it. There are good examples out there, and there is kindness. My daughter is probably the best example of just loving people for who they are. Like, she loves making friends. She doesn't care what they look like. She doesn't see that. She just sees, oh, you're...
In fact, well, just to share a quick story, John, with the February Black History Month, wanted to share some culture and background and get her more into understanding who she is. And it was one of those little, oh no, kind of a moment. in my head anyway, he was talking to her about her best friend, Lexi, and just saying, and Lexi has white skin and you have brown skin, and she looked shocked. She was like, what? I have a different skin color than her? And so it was kind of a bittersweet moment for me, because I was like, here's a perfect example of what we should be like, of not paying attention to the skin color, but paying attention to what we love about other people. And the sad part of that, of her starting to grow up to say, oh wait, there is a different skin color. And I'm like, oh, there's a little bit of innocence lost there, unfortunately, which will happen anyway as she grows up. But it's almost like, wait, did we feed that to her when she didn't really care? But of course, as kids do, they've gone back to playing together, and she hadn't even
she's forgotten it. It's just,
anything like
hey,
that.
I can play with my friend. Yay.
Right?
And she's that way with anyone she comes in contact with. Like, I took her out for ice cream on one of our daddy-daughter dates the other day, and she's just, where we stopped at Lowe's and was getting some stuff, and she's just like, hey, and just to random people, just being smiling and, hey, how are you? Just waving and grinning, and just like, wow, I don't know that I do that. Like, I could learn from you. Like, way to teach daddy how to be better. Like, awesome. Appreciate you.
Yeah.
She's something else.
She's an extrovert of the extreme kind. So, that does play in her favor. Like, when we went camping, and we were kind of the last family there of our camping group anyway, and she was out in the lake trying to play with someone. She literally was like going toward anybody and everybody, trying to talk to them and see if she could play with their swim toy or canoe or whatever, what have you.
As a parent, you're like, no, don't. We don't know, especially with everything going on with the COVID, we don't know everyone's comfort level, and you don't want to impose. I mean, out there, everyone is pretty friendly. Like, I don't feel like when it was like, no, don't come near me.
No, but she has no qualms about talking to strangers.
Yeah.
No stranger danger there.
Which we will have to deal with. I mean, right now it's okay. She's usually around us, so we can keep an eye on her, but...
Yeah. Fun time.
I guess, when you're out and about with Eliza, or if we're out in a family, do you ever notice any, like, weird looks come our way? Like the stink eye from,
Right. That's the interesting thing. I think that really was something I noticed far more when we were dating. And probably because it was new to me, and like, okay, how is this going to be accepted? And I was more worried about it at that time. And quite frankly, I don't even pay attention to it anymore, because it's who I am. This is my husband, and I love him, and maybe every once in a while I see it, and if I do see it, what I do is I actually smile at them. And I feel like that kind of puts people at ease. It's a split-second connection, as you know, when you're out in public and you see people and there's an eye connection there.
Yeah, it's like diffusing the situation.
Yeah, so I'll smile and look upbeat and happy instead of looking defensive or angry, and I can attest to that. I think that makes a big difference. And again, are we being open and friendly and approachable, that kind of thing. So
it's funny. I think sometimes in my head I make it a game. Like, if I notice that someone is like going out of their way to like stare me down, kind of like you, I look them in the face and just kind of smile.
Right.
Like, I'm not like giving them the stink eye back of like, why are you looking at me? It's like hey, how's it going?
Right. We're human.
Right. Or I'll go on my way and like verbally say hello, or do like the the nod of sup.
Mm-hmm. And I think it brings their defenses down, because they see, oh, okay, they're being kind and friendly, and yeah, I think it really helps in a big way. And with Eliza, I don't know yet how that's going to go, because she just got done with kindergarten. So with her, she's been young enough that a lot of people are like, oh, she's just such a cute kid, which she is, with curls and a big smile, and everybody wants to look at her and talk to her. But when I've talked to other people and their experiences with biracial children, it seems like the time that they have a harder time with that is in junior high and high school. Mm-hmm. And so I'm curious how that's going to play out for us and for Eliza. So if, as far as that is concerned, people haven't really said much. If anything, if I'm alone with Eliza, a lot of people might possibly think I've adopted her. But
I mean, that's a very common thing out here, too, I've noticed.
Very few people have asked me, though, which it has surprised me. I could probably say 2 or 3 people at the most have asked me if she's adopted.
Oh, that's funny. They never asked me that.
Well, yeah, she looks more like you.
Ha!
But it's that kind of a thing where people wonder, but most have been so kind and so gracious, and I just say, yeah, she's my daughter, and I don't know. I really haven't had a problem with it.
You remember that, I don't even know if you call it a game, but there are times where, like, kind of early on when Eliza was growing up, where we'd be like, what features does she have from you? Or what features does she have from me? And, like, you're like, she doesn't look like me. You can't tell her she's my daughter. And I was like, yes, you can.
Oh.
Like, she's got my skin, but she's got a lot of, like, your mannerisms, like...
Right. So that's the thing. I think if people don't know us, they automatically assume that she looks like John. But I have had people say to me, and they really are those that know us really close and intimately, that say, oh yeah, I can see that she looks like you.
Mm-hmm. See, I told you.
So, the surface level, people don't really know, but yeah. So it's fun. It's fun to see what people think sometimes, but I love it.
Right. If you, from your experience and obviously there's things that you don't know that, because I don't share, because you say you're kind of in the dark because I do shelter you, but...
Yes, he does. And I'll be honest, the last few weeks have been eye-opening and educational, even though I've been married to this man for 7 years. So, anyway.
I'm kind of like, Ryan and I mentioned this in another earlier episode of, like, we're kind of like Fort Knox. Like, a lot of our emotions and thoughts and stuff, we just kind of keep bottled in, locked down. Big guys got to maintain certain decorum, But from what you have learned from our discussions with everything going on and what I have opened up about, is there anything that's kind of opened your eyes? Is there any advice that you would give to maybe an interracial relationship out there?
I think the biggest thing is sorry, just trying to gather my thoughts for a second there. I definitely come from the white girl background that haven't experienced any of the racial situations because I grew up with so little diversity when I was younger, honestly. So, in being married and watching John and slowly understanding his feelings, and I think the biggest part is how people are treated, because a lot of us want to say, oh, well, the laws are better, things have changed, and everybody should be treated equally. And yes, they should be treated equally. I think the biggest thing is understanding the fear that African Americans go through in being falsely accused of things. And there's no way to quantify that. That's not a statistical thing that you can point out. I was trying to have a discussion with a lady that I know, and she's like, well, yeah, everything you say has happened to a white person too. And I'm like, well, how do I explain this? I feel like I have a better understanding, but also trying to have a better way to express it and share with others. And I said, yes, but are you scared to death of being pulled over by a cop? And that's something that, gave her pause. I was like, nobody likes to be pulled over, let's be honest. But
nope.
A lot of us, I would say, in my experience, it's just not a fun experience, but and for African Americans, it's a scary, terrifying experience because they don't know what's really going to go down. Now, we had one experience where John got pulled over for tailing somebody too closely in rush hour traffic.
Right. How do you tell someone too close? Like, you're in bottleneck traffic.
Right.
Like,
so it was a crazy situation, and John's record here in Utah was clean, and the cop ticketed him, and, well, he, in the process of talking to John, threatened to pull a gun on him.
like, he went for his holster. Like, he was ready to, like, pull that on me, and I didn't do anything. Like,
Right.
I was just saying I wasn't doing anything in the wrong, trying to defend myself, and I guess he thought I was being too defensive, so my instinct was, like, fight or flight. It's like, okay, should I call my wife and say my final goodbyes? Should I, like, be recording this? And I just put my hands on the steering wheel, 10 and 2, and, you know, my heart was racing. I was just trying to get, I think it was, like, family dinner that night or something.
Was it?
Yeah, I was on my way to mom and dad's.
No, you came home. You came home to our house because it was a regular work day.
Did I?
That I remember. But here's the point, really, more that I wanted to bring up. Even at that point, I didn't understand his fear. He came home so upset and shaking, and I thought he was more angry than anything. And over time, and we went to the court and bought that ticket, and I've never seen him so excited to win,
It
which
was
I was
funny.
surprised by that.
Because, like, I go up there, and the judge literally just looks at me and says, "How you doing today, Mr. Jefferson?" Like, I'm all dressed up, nice shirt and stuff, and
Right.
basically just said, "Go enjoy the rest of your day." And I was like, "What? Okay."
Well, it's because the lawyer said the decision. We talked to him on the side before the judge.
But it was just one of those things, like, even the judge was like, "There's nothing on this guy's record." Like, the vibe that I was getting from him was like, he was very friendly, and that's not my experience with judges. Normally they're like, "What are you in for? All right, let's throw him in there and lock the key, or, throw away the key." But he's very chill. He's like, just go enjoy the rest of your day. Like, you're good.
Well, just from that experience, though, what I learned, like, you were so elated. I know that at first you didn't want to contest it because you didn't think that we could win. So over time and watching that and learning more, and I looked back on that experience of, like, okay, he came home shaking, not with rage, but a lot of fear, which I was like, okay. So it's been kind of eye-opening, and in a sense.
Now that I'm playing that back in my mind, I think, and not to talk badly about, my family and stuff here, but when I was trying to relay my fear and experience for, like, being pulled over, like, they were trying to relate, but they couldn't. They're like, "Oh, you were fine. There was no reason to, he wasn't going to go for his gun." And I just was like, I don't want to talk about with you right now. Like,
With my family?
yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Right. So that kind of right there, there's no way to quantify that. That doesn't show up in statistics. That doesn't show up in legal laws and situations. This just shows up in personal experience. And we would say, "Oh, you're fine." Whereas John is, like, freaking out and worried of what could the outcome be, because you never know. And that's his experience.
It's funny, like, we talk about, I have another brother that I work with at RC Willie, and, like, we just kind of have these discussions and stuff, and, and I think I mentioned this before in other episodes where, you have a certain level of blackness or ghetto-ness that comes out, and he's like, even though John doesn't let that out, like, he's got that in there if he needs to, and I'm like, that makes sense, though, because it is, like, and I'm not trying to, I don't mean any ill will when I say this the wrong way, but I guess I don't let all my blackness out here, if that makes sense.
It does, because we've discussed this. John doesn't even let all of his blackness out with me, which at times I'm like, "Hey, who are you really under there?"
Right? And it's not me trying to hide who I am. I guess it's that protecting an image, like, and I'm not, like, me saying I'm not letting all my blackness out, it's not, I guess, necessarily, how do I put this? I guess I act a different way. Like, we all put on our armor to protect us. Like, we all have our defense mechanism to, given our situation, we act a certain way, we carry ourselves a certain way. But if I'm around certain people that I know that I can let my guard down, then that side comes out more. And, you know, you get to see a little bit more, a different side of John than what you would expect. And
Right.
I feel like even though I don't always let that side out of me, you still get a feel for who I am, because I'm not any different. There are just certain mannerisms and the way that I would talk and carry myself would be different, if that's the best way that I could paint that picture.
Right. Right.
Joys of being a vanilla town. Woo! But I don't want to make this episode super long. Like, I just kind of wanted to be short and sweet and just kind of get some, you know, just positive info out there, just positive vibes, and just say, hey, you know, we're happy, we're interracial, like, we love each other, it's great. And, you know, I'm grateful that my wife was willing to get on here and just let me kind of, you know, ask her questions and just kind of get someone else's perspective other than just mine. And it's kind of just nice to hear her voice, you know?
Well, and if I say too many times, I apologize.
It's okay.
This is my first time talking on a podcast. So, but here's the one final point that I want to bring up if you're done asking questions, and that is John and I have talked a lot about how do we make a change for the better in our community and among family and friends. And, you know, we do have a lot of friends who are out there rallying and trying to make phone calls and lobby for different things, which, good for them. If you know us, we are not the politically active, rah-rah people. We're kind of a lot more quiet. And so I would say we have been kind of struggling with this of how do we represent and what is the right thing to do. But the thing that has come up over and over is the one and only true way the change is going to come about is to help people know that it's the way you teach your children in your home about how to treat everyone.
That's where it starts, for sure.
And it's whatever it is. Is it about race? Is it about a physical handicap or a mental handicap? Or, you know, the list goes on. And we just have to learn how, if we don't have it in our skill set, to be kind to everyone, regardless of the other person's differences, I should say. And I think the biggest thing that we really have discussed is you can maybe talk big about treating everybody the same, but how are you actually treating everyone? Are you really treating them kindly? Are you really going out of your way to become a better person? Because your kids watch that. Your actions are louder than your words any day. And I think to me, that's where the biggest change is going to come. If we teach our children how to love everyone and to be kind to everyone, then all these other laws that are actually already in place that we should already be treating everyone with equal behaviors, that is going to happen so much better in reality. I hope I'm not...
Testify, sister. Woo!
There you go.
This is why I married her. She's just a wonderful human being, and she has good intentions. Just kind of to piggyback on that, just one last thought. It does start in the home. Like, how we raise our kids is a big factor. Like, my mom and dad, they raised me the best of their abilities, and I continue to try and impart my lessons that I've learned from them to my daughter. And, you know, even in my marriage, like, it takes two to make this thing work. And Julie and I work on this on a regular basis, and we don't necessarily look at each other for the color of the skin. Like, I fell in love with her for who she is internally, and it was a long journey. Like, initially, no, we didn't click, but we reconnected, and the sparks aligned, and it was just great. Did I say sparks? Stars.
You did. say sparks, but
I knew what I meant to say. Don't
Sparks
judge me.
flew.
Sparks flew.
And the stars aligned.
Stars aligned. Is it
Eventually, see, we get there.
Yeah.
At the end.
Is that like on a line on a song or something? Sound like a country song.
Golly. Yeah, to all that country that we don't listen to.
Hey, I like country. Some of it, not all of it.
No, okay.
Hey.
No judgment here. We love everybody, right?
Wow, the look she just gave me. Oh my goodness. But yeah, just start at home. Teach your kids right from wrong, because I think, at least for the most part, we want to be kind to each other, but we're humans. Like, we're going to judge people, even if we're not intentionally doing it.
I think if it's anything uncomfortable, or unfamiliar, that's where we tend to come across as mean or unkind. A lot of times when you're not trying to do that.
Right.
So.
See, there she goes. She's just correcting me again and just keeping me in line.
I'm not even trying to correct you. I'm stuttering over my own words. How's that?
It's okay. I love her anyway. Well, Julie, thank you for joining me on this episode.
You're welcome.
I'm grateful for you in my life and for this journey that we call love.
Woohoo!
Maybe we'll be fortunate enough to have you on here another time and talk about something not so serious.
Right.
But as always, I am one of your main hosts on this podcast, Triple J, John Jefferson Jr. Hopefully next episode, Ryan will be with me and we'll catch you guys up on everything nerd culture that we've missed while he's been on vacation. But as always, you can follow us on our social media, on Twitter at InterCodePod, on Facebook at InterCode Podcast, and Instagram as well. And you can always leave us a voicemail on anchor.fm. We'd love to hear some feedback and just kind of hear your thoughts on what you've enjoyed about the podcast on this journey. And, we're always looking for ways to improve and to get better and just to have a good experience for our listeners. So as always, we appreciate you. We love you. And thanks again for all the support. Bye.